Hello, welcome to the Loney Show. I'm your host, John Loney, and in this episode, we have a guest, a content creator. He's been making YouTube videos for many years. He's doing a current project, making an upcoming social media app, being one of the founders, and he's getting back on the drift, being a shareholder and somewhat franchisee of Gamers Heaven. Well, it depends who you ask, but either way, he has started up a brand new franchise for Gamers Heaven in the past, and it's been pretty well ever since. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Jacob Young, aka Shadow Miner.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So, how's life?
It's pretty good, man. Like you said, through what I've been working on, all my content stuff, and the franchise with Gamers Heaven and stuff like that. It's been a crazy ride, and actually as a content creator, and hopefully being able to make this my full-time job. I have started my own company called Sagamatic Studios. You know about that one.
Oh yeah,
And, yeah. And I've been hopefully getting it set up to where I could do merchandise and stuff like that. And I've been working on a content schedule because I've taken a year off.
Okay.
You know how they say when it comes to doing something you want to do, like it's like say for like a tattoo, for instance, right? Always wait a year or so before you go ahead and commit to it. And I've taken that year to just like think and plan and work on things. And now it's like, okay, I want to do this. Like, this is something I want to do. I want to make a difference in the world. And that's just how I've always been. So yeah, life's going great, man. Regarding my content and stuff, I'm getting ready to start coming back soon-ish. I can't really give a specific date yet because every time I get free to make an upload schedule or whatnot, something always gets in the way of it, like family vacation next week at Disneyworld or something at my job or whatnot. So eventually, hopefully within the next week or week and a half, I should be back to making regular videos, whether it be on mainly YouTube, because that's where I really started out and stuff. And then obviously TikTok. I've been really learning about TikTok and stuff like that, and Clash or wherever it may be. I'm also thinking about making my own website to do my own content, like things that wouldn't fly on TikTok or YouTube or whatever. And then speaking on Gamers Heaven, we are planning on opening that in the summer. So that's coming up. I'm getting ready to be moving out. So like when I do start getting back to doing YouTube videos again, most of my time is going to be there might be another pause, like I told you. Something always finds a way to get in the way of me making videos of me moving and stuff like that. And also I forgot to mention this too, throw in some streams here and there, because I've been really wanting to get back into Twitch streaming and stuff like that. So yeah, life's going, man. Life is really going good right now. Content upload schedule, getting ready to open up this Gamers Heaven franchise. And then also I will throw this in there too. They took me out to Dallas to do a convention. This new convention called Anime Frontier. Really great convention. I got to meet a lot of awesome people, help run the booth and stuff like that. And I've never been to really been to a convention before. I've been to like TwitchCon and I've been to VidCon. I've been to Minecon like once, but those aren't really like conventions, if you know what I mean. Like I'm talking about like Comic-Con, really big conventions like that. And I mean, Anime Frontier is not really a big convention, but it's one of those up and coming conventions. It's by the same people who do Anime in New York and stuff like that. I've thought like, okay, it's not that hard to get a booth. So it does cost a bit of money, but I've been thinking at some point I would love to do like a studio sponsored booth, whether that be a Shadow Miner booth, whether that be a, project booth, whatever. I would love to get more engaged in the community. Like before, I used to not understand why all these YouTubers and stuff do these tours and stuff. It was like, okay, why do you do this to yourself? Like, you guys have like a demanding upload schedule, and on top of that, you're going around the world doing these tours and stuff like that. But now it's like, okay, I had the opportunity to run a booth at a convention, and now it's like, okay, now I get it. Like, I completely get it. so yeah, that's what's up with my life right now, and why it's been so crazy and stuff. So yeah.
Great. Now, in regards to Sagamatic Studios, what do you and what the other people that work there do exactly?
So whenever I was growing up, I watched a lot of Disney. I played a lot of video games. I was just your typical kid, but I always had this motivation in me to like make a difference in the world, be creative. And that's just something I guess that's never died out since I've been a kid. So whenever I originally was growing up, like in middle school or whatnot, I got introduced. My first ever game was that I believe it was Mario Kart on the Nintendo DS, and I loved it. That's all I played. And then as I went into middle school, I got introduced to Minecraft. As you can tell by my name, Shadow Miner. That's one of the games that really had a huge impact on my life. And I played the crap out of that game. Like any chance I could get, I played the crap out of that game. And along the line, I was also in band. The kid that I was doing band camp with introduced me to Minecraft. Great kid. Like I still talk to him to this day. He's like one of my best friends. We stayed up on the phone together to make up my name, Shadow Miner. And like, if it wasn't for him and that phone call, I would have never had the name I have right now. So that's awesome. But yeah, I grew up playing Minecraft and Nintendo in middle school, and then I watched a documentary because I had this brain. I was so curious about everything. About the creators of Minecraft. Like, they had a documentary. That documentary changed my life. Like, it was just a whole bunch of friends that came together. Two of them used to work at Microsoft, two of them had other jobs in the gaming industry. They wanted to create a game that gave people the power to be creative and do whatever they want. And at the time, and today, I'm still the same way. I had the motivation, to like, I would love to do the things I want to do. So at the time, it got me a little bit into like computer stuff and digital media and coding and stuff like that. I really got into coding mainly. That was like a phase of mine. I wanted to create video games in middle school. It was like one of the things that I wanted to do. So I took some coding classes. I did Code Academy, which Code Academy is still one of those things that you can still find today. And for a little bit, I was like, okay, yeah, this is exciting. This, and this, And then after learning Java and some C++ a little bit, I was like, okay, this is not for me because this is like too much things I have to remember. And this is too overwhelming. Like, I have and still have a respect to this day for people who have to code video games because they have to sit there, tediously figure out how to make something, and then go back and figure out what the issue is, then go back to the making part, then go back to fixing issues. And then it's like a back and forth like that. It's like a really tedious process like that. So then I was like, okay, this might not be for me. And then I was getting into like everybody else, like getting into watching these YouTubers like Markiplier, at the time Captain Sparkles, the Sky Does Minecraft, all, and then Exploding TNT, which I feel like is one of those that I was just one that watched mainly. And, just watching all these videos, and I was like, dude, these guys are like totally making a difference in the world. Like, if it wasn't for the YouTube era, if it was not for YouTubers in general, I believe we would not, or even Viners too, like if it wasn't for content creators in general, I believe we would not have the internet we have today. We wouldn't have the game industry that we do today, and we wouldn't have gaming in the way that we have, because everybody likes watching someone play a game now and then. Even if you have the game, or if you're just wanting to learn about the game, or even if you just don't want to get the game at all and you're just invested in the story, like a lot of the FNAF guys out there, watching someone play a game was like this revolutionary thing at the time. And I really got into that. I was like, man, I wish I could do what these guys did. So I just one day fired up my tablet. I'm like, okay, Danny, like that's the guy that helped me with my name. I'm like, dude, you have got to help me come up with a name for myself, because I want to make YouTube videos. So we sat on the phone for like a good hour and a half. We came up with my name, and then I'm like, okay, I got the name. Now how do I do this? He's like, well, you got to find a screen capturing software, because at the time I didn't have a fancy laptop or anything. So what I did at the time, and if you go back to my oldest videos, you will see where I had a tablet. I found it. Well, it might sound ridiculous, like, oh wow, it's so hard to find a screen recording software for a tablet, because that's like the norm these days. Like iPads, all Android devices have like an easy screen recording button. It back then it was like apparently the hardest thing to implement in a tablet. You had to either get an app or something. So I found an app. It took a while. One that you didn't have to pay for, even though it might have had a watermark or two. I found an app. I recorded myself, and I put my videos on the internet. They were simple, like 10-year-old wanting to be a YouTuber, cringy, of course, videos, like tutorial videos. Videos that just came to my mind, and that's how I still think to this day. And I just made them, and then eventually I was like, years later, I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. And one of my cringiest videos popped off, and I was like, okay, maybe this is for me. So I did a whole, like, throughout high school, I took digital media classes. I learned a lot about Premiere. I was one of the fastest learning in my class. So it didn't start out that way either. Like, I had a issue paying attention, and in a way I'm still like that to this day. I figured out a way. One of my teachers taught me, if you just learn a tool, and just learn that one specific tool, it will translate into every other piece of the software. So for Photoshop, my tool, I believe, was the magic wand or something like that. And then after that, it started translating to everything else. And then also learning Premiere. I believe learning the effects tab was my first tool, sort of say. And then it started translating into everything else. I was like, oh my God, Premiere is like revolutionary. This would totally help me in my videos. Then after that, I started learning, like more towards my senior year, I started learning things like Illustrator, logo design, and stuff like that. I really got into like graphics design and stuff. Then as I started going through high school, I started wanting to delve. It all started out with game development, then it's YouTube, then Vine happened, and then I really wanted to create another community for that group, and then then 2017 happened. This goes back to our conversation. Remember how I said I really like Disney and stuff like that. My first ever trip to Disney World, and this upcoming trip to Disney World is like my second trip to Disney World, because it's been like so many years. My first trip to Disney World, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to enjoy it. I don't know what I was thinking, because at the time the Nintendo Switch had came out. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm glued to this thing. How am I going to enjoy Disney World? There's probably nothing to enjoy. And I was crazy stupid at the time. I got there and I found this whole other world of like amazing things to do, and all these theme parks. Like, you're immersed. Like, this is essentially what people want the metaverse to be today, but you're actually there. Like, I get the appeal now for Disney World, because it transports you into this world, right? So I'm like, oh my God, I love Disney World. So I went around, I was learning all these new things, like the hidden Mickeys, the pin trading. Like, that was freaking revolutionary right there. Like, you could get some collector's pins and you could trade them with Disney employees. Like, that's freaking awesome. And like, I would wake up every morning, the 3 days I was there, and my routine was, because I at the time too, and I still am, I'm sort of a big Star Wars fan. So in Hollywood Studios, this was before they had the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge expansion to the parks. I would go to the marching of the First Order Stormtroopers, and I would go there and watch it every single morning. And then sometimes throughout the day, I would come back and watch it too. I'd be sipping on my blue milkshake. Great. By the way, first of all, I have no idea how they make them blue milkshakes, but those things were the freaking best. And I racked up my mom's credit card alone with just those blue milkshakes. So after the Disney thing, it was time for us to leave. And the Disney trip was like a band trip. So we went there and performed, obviously. It was great. Leaving was the hardest part, because I just got so involved in this new world, and I got so inspired. And to me, it was like a surreal moment. Like, I could feel Walt Disney's presence at the park wherever I was. I was getting inspired. I was learning a lot of, I was like, oh my God, like, this is what I could do. Like, there's not going to be, like, this is the only, experience that we get like this, in Disney. So as I'm coming back, I'm like, man, I want to create something like what Disney has, right? So at the time, this was like, I still had a couple years through high school to go through. I was learning, like, okay, how can I make this dream happen? Because I want to be a YouTuber. I want to create this community for people of content creators. I want to, the more and more throughout high school, I was learning, I want to create this universe of something, right? Like, I wanted to either create a cinematic universe, I wanted to either create a game universe, I either wanted to be, like, I wanted to create this big thing. And at the time, there wasn't really a word for this. Like, I feel like I was the one who was thinking of the so-called metaverse before this was even a word, right? Like, I was wanting to create this big universe of things for people, like Disney, like, because Disney was the original inspiration of it all. And I want to be a YouTuber and all this stuff. And the more towards my senior year I was getting, the more I was like, ready to go. Like I was ready to get out of high school and start doing this stuff. And then the end of high school happened. I had my few days. I made a video or two, and then it hit me like, oh my gosh, like, is this really what I want to do? And it wasn't because of, oh wow, this sucks. You know, it was more of like a life hit me hard sort of situation. I went to college. I figured out that wasn't my thing. I went to I got my first job or two. I learned how crappy the real world was through them jobs. One of them was like a $7 an hour job. It was not even worth it. And all of that. And then there's this app that came out that Jamie knows about. It was called Byte. It didn't really pan out, I guess you could say. It's still around through these developers called Clash, but I mean, you just don't know. But all of that combined into this, okay, man, like this really sucks, you know. And I took the year off because I was like, okay, this is going to give me the time to reflect and really think, like, is this really something I want to do? So the year went by, and I kept promising. I still had the same drive, same feeling, same passion as I always had in high school and middle school. So I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to do this. So around the time that I started getting ready to do things like, you know, starting the Sagamatic Studios LLC and all that stuff, things like the metaverse started coming out, you know, things like RTX cards and all this stuff started coming out. And then the more I started, at first I was like, oh man, this is just some stupid buzzword. This is just some stupid trend that everybody's trying to hop on. But the more I started just looking into it and thinking about it, the more I start realizing, okay, this is starting to line up with what I envisioned for Sagamatic Studios. And this is what my post-high school dreams was to, you know, like post that Disney trip and everything. Like this was my dream to create this Disney-like universe. Through like content creating and through video games and social media platforms, etc., whatever it is I delve into the future. Mainly YouTube being a big driving factor in all that, because I've always wanted to do content and stuff like that. So I know that was like a huge like timeline and story of how I started Sagamatic Studios, but you wouldn't have really understood you wouldn't really understand the purpose of Sagamatic Studios if I didn't really give you the background. So Sagamatic Studios started out as a content creating group, and it's still always going to be like that. But it's just a content creating group that has a vision similar to Disney, that wants to branch out and work on their own projects and essentially make a change in the world, like similar to how Disneyworld did it, you know, for everyone else. I want to be that guy that creates this cinematic universe, this YouTuber universe, you know, empowers all these creators and stuff to be their best selves. And now that, you know, you got words like the metaverse and stuff like that, I want to create a metaverse like similar to Disney World that gives people that same rush and energy as they get when like going to Disney World or Disneyland, California, or Paris.
Wow. I'm absolutely blown away by this entire story.
Yeah.
What an incredible journey you've been through. I'm really proud of you for that. Really.
Thanks.
Now, in terms of gamers heaven, what got you thinking about starting like a franchisee within your local area?
So this is one of those things, like you just said, I have a huge story, and that story is just going to keep on getting huger. Gamers heaven. So I started this job at Staples, and you know about that. I've been when I got out of high school, I was, like I said, I had this mentality that, I wanted to create like this place for people, like similar to Disney. And at the time, there wasn't the metaverse. Like this was like pre-metaverse, pre-NFT, pre-everything. And I was thinking, okay, at the time you had like the last blockbuster, being like a trend on the internet and stuff like that. And I was thinking, man, there's not really a place for gamers, is there? Like, because I really enjoyed video games. Like that's just something that's a part of me that I don't think is ever going to go away, because video games, like I said, changed my life and it changed a lot of people's lives. And like I've realized there's not really a place for them. Like, you had the GameStop drama, you had like all that stuff. And like imagine, like there's no place for gamers to go. And well, I mean, you got VR chat and you got VR and you have the your PC and stuff like that at home. But like when it comes to like the Nintendo Switch, right? There's not really a dedicated cafe, as far as I know. There's not really a dedicated place for these people to come and be themselves. Like, I mean, like Andrew, I'll get to this here in a little bit. Great guy, by the way. There is a city in Japan. It's called Akibara, and it's a great place. But nobody can afford plane tickets to go there. It's like unless you wanted to live there, it's not really a reality. So at the time, I was thinking, oh my gosh, there's not really a place for people to go. So me and my friend at the time, on one of our breaks was like, dude, William, what if we created a place called BitBlock, where people can come in, play old video games, come in and play new games, and then it's like this dedicated spot for people to come play Pokemon Go, like play Nintendo Switch, like it's just this dedicated area. And it was eventually going to be like a franchise like Gamer7. And then we got the idea rolling. We were looking at places and all that stuff, but the idea fell through because, well, we didn't have the sort of money to make that happen. And we didn't find anybody that could help us make that happen. So one day I was scrolling on TikTok and I was like bummed out, like, oh my gosh, like one of our conversations we had that we would talk about this like all night, right? And all of a sudden I found this Gamers Heaven, like this guy named Andrew on TikTok. Like, dude, this lines up with it. Like, first of all, let me say this. Everything that I've ever dreamt about or wanted to make happen, it's like some universe telling me how to make it happen, sort of thing, right? Like, first, like, like I told you about how I wanted to create this giant universe with Sagamatic Studios and stuff like that. And then you got the metaverse thing, coming along now. It's like it was perfectly set up, right? Then you have me wanting to make this place for these gamers. Now I ran into this guy named Andrew, and now I've found my solution on TikTok. Like it's like the universe aligns up with my things. It's really weird. So I found Andrew on TikTok and stuff like that. I really got into the message. I really got into this vision. Like he wants to bring Akibara Japan to America, to these sleeping capsule hotels, Japanese food, restaurant, Japanese food shop, Gundam, like all these freaking things that you could never, ever imagine is exactly what Gamers Heaven is. Like it's literally the place. Like I believe Gamers Heaven, like I said, it's like a place that you could pretty much do a lot of things, like cosplay, Japanese food restaurant, and then food shop and Gundam and land center, and like you could potentially also host like esport events and stuff like that. Like he wants to create Akibara Japan in America. I truly believe that Gamers Heaven is going to be this gigantic city in a lot of these cities. It's going to be like this go-to place for gamers to come and live and hang out and be immersed into the gaming world. Very similar to how, like, like going back to my previous story, very similar to how you could go to Walt Disney World and become immersed in that world and get the same rush and same energy and be a part of this unique world, right? So, and I guess you could probably see now every dream or every thing that I've sort of talked about has that same theme, Disney immersion, place for people to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like Andrew said on one of his live streams, that's why people really liked YouTubers, because that was their only, like, especially gaming YouTubers and stuff like that at the time, that really was their only outlet to go and be a part of a gaming community. Like, just an online internet creator is like someone's only, or going to a convention, but like conventions only last like 3-4 days tops, right? So having like this 24/7 convention, like imagine setting up a booth or setting up a house or a tent or something like that, and going to a Comic-Con or an Anime Frontier, Anime New York, and just not being there for 3 days, but just living there. That is what Gamers Heaven, in my opinion, is. So yeah, that's what really got me into the whole Gamers Heaven thing, and I'm really into the vision that they have. It really aligns with, like I said, creating a place for someone who wants to just be a part of the gaming community and wants to escape and all that stuff. So yeah.
Great. Fabulous. And that is all we have for this episode. Thank you for coming here, Jacob. It's really been great.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm glad I could offer my story, and I hope I've inspired someone, because I've always wanted to create change in the world and stuff like that. So, and then also hit me up on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all these other places if you want to follow my journey. Would love that. I'm just Jacob Shadowminer on everything except Twitter. Twitter is not spelled, Shadowminer is not spelled with a W. That's because Twitter has a stupid character limit on their usernames. So,
yeah.
but yeah, that's all me, all my stuff. And if you want to go follow my journey, there you go. So
yeah, very nice. Yeah. Until next time, stay tuned for more.